Hello everyone. So in this lecture video, we're going to be talking about the autonomic nervous system, specifically the two divisions of the nervous system, the sympathetic division and the parasympathetic division. This is our motor, is a motor division, which means to say that these are outputs, these are descending pathways, right? So there's none of these are ascending pathways whatsoever. So the autonomic nervous system, okay, again, the reason why it's called autonomic or visceral motor system is because it controls things that are subconscious, that we are not aware of. It normally, in this case, it innervates all our organs. In this case, the heart, the stomach, the pancreas, the liver, okay, glands. All of those are organs, obviously, and so those are the actual points of innervation for the autonomic nervous system. And the main function of the autonomic nervous system is for homeostasis. Okay, obviously, a lot of this homeostatic mechanisms is we are unaware of, and if we are aware of it, we'll be completely overwhelmed. And this is again one of the reasons why the autonomic nervous system is quite very, very important. Again, some of the important things is heart rate is an autonomic nervous system function. Respiration is an autonomic nervous system function. Digestion is an autonomic nervous system function. The release of, in this case, of pancreatic juices or pancreatic enzymes are autonomic nervous system functions. So all of those are obviously organs, and all of those organs we have no control over, okay? Which is unlike in this case, the skeletal muscle, the somatic nervous system, all right? So this is an actual diagram of the autonomic nervous system, and specifically this is actually showing a diagram about the parasympathetic or the sympathetic division, okay? The fight or flight response. What happens is, as you can see, there's a sensation. So here's the lungs, all right? So in here, what happens first is there's a sensation that actually enters the posterior root ganglion. Here's the cell body, the neuron cell body, and it enters again the posterior portion of the spinal cord. And then if you need to initiate response, that neuron actually obviously comes all the way up, either all the way up to from the cranial, like in this case from the brain, from the parietal lobe, okay, or in this case, so this is actually the terminal neuron, the tertiary neuron, the second neuron. And what happens, folks, is if you can see it, what happens is it actually comes out and it actually goes to this thing called the autonomic or the sympathetic ganglion. This is actually a sympathetic ganglion. And then it transmits nerve signals to, in this case, to your actual organs again. All right. So very, very important. How do you control autonomic functions? So the control of autonomic functions, again, heart rate, all of these respirations, as we mentioned before, is normally in the floor, actually in the brainstem. Okay. There are some, in this case, a function that are actually mediated or integrated by the spinal cord. That's defecation and urination. All right. And this actually has something like, and we're going to be talking about why this is quite important soon. And then what is missing here is they say that involving emotions. Emotions is actually, in this case, governed by a region in this area here called the limbic system, right? Which is made up of multiple parts, not just the hypothalamus, all right? But that is a command center. Specifically, it's actually a bridge between the endocrine system and the nervous system, which we're going to be talking about in the future, okay? So that's again not quite true, okay, but that is actually the bridge between the nervous system and the endocrine system, because as you know, hormones are actually involved in stress as well as in the sympathetic nervous system. All right. Main functions are brainstem. We're talking about heart rate, respirations. Okay, all of those are actually in the brainstem. All right, and again, spinal cord is very unique for defecation and urination. So there are two divisions of the autonomic nervous system. One of them is called the parasympathetic division, and the other one is called sympathetic division. The parasympathetic division can also be called the craniosacral division, and the reason why that is because the nerves, okay, that actually innervate, right, that actually are part of the parasympathetic, actually arises from the cranial and the sacral region, okay, whereas this is called the thoracolumbar division because where does the nerves come from? The thorax, the thoracic vertebrae, and the lumbar region. All right, which should tell you something, right? So because the organs are predominantly here, correct? If you want to think about it this way, the heart is over here. So like in this case, the parasympathetic division nerves are a little bit longer than the sympathetic division. The sympathetic division is quite shorter because obviously they have to innervate the organs that are actually generally here, right? Now, functions. Here's the function: rest and digest, fight, flight, or fright. Those are the things. So when you're relaxing, when you're not stressed out, okay, when you're eating, okay, so this is actually when you just ate, okay, so that is actually the division that actually is dominant, okay. So, and then obviously when you need to like run away from someone or you need to fight someone, this is actually the division that's actually in this case that is actually required. Working out actually also in this case in stresses, like so working out, exercising is actually also induces the activity of the sympathetic division. All right, and this is again, you just hang out doing Netflix and chill. All right, so that's actually what this is. Now there are some very important there are some other differences between these two divisions which is not shown here. One of the primary again differences between these two divisions is the type of neurotransmitters that's actually used in both division. Okay, in the sympathetic division we actually have the two epinephrine. The epinephrine and norepinephrine is in this case is the major neurotransmitter, and in the parasympathetic division acetylcholine is actually the dominant neurotransmitter. Okay, all of your organs, whether that's the heart or the stomach, is innervated by both the parasympathetic division and the sympathetic division. Okay, and when one is active, when the parasympathetic is active, it inhibits the other division. Okay, so when this is working, when you rest and digesting, it inhibits the sympathetic division. When the sympathetic division is working, it inhibits the parasympathetic division. This is actually a term called dual innervation. All of your organs are dually innervated by two different divisions. Okay. Now, there is a caveat to that whole inhibition, excitation, stuff like that. So I am going to compare two organs. I'm going to compare the heart and the stomach, because the heart is, like it's an organ that's actually mostly used for fight, flight, okay? And the stomach obviously is mostly used for rest and digest, okay? So let's do in this case, the heart first, right? So when you are just chilling out and you're eating, right? What happens is the division that's actually working at that point is the parasympathetic division. So what it does is in this case, it secretes, right? It secretes acetylcholine, right, into the heart, into cardiac, in this case, into your heart, not directly into your heart, but into the gaps between the heart and the neurons, the motor on plate. And what happens, folks, is your heart slows down. So in this case, acetylcholine from the parasympathetic division actually lowers the activity of your heart. Okay? And by virtue of that, the sympathetic division is actually inhibited. Right? Now, what happens when you're like running away from someone? Right? I don't know why you'll be running away from someone. I hope that you don't ever put yourself into such a position, but let's say that happens. What happens, folks, is the sympathetic division then is the one that's actually firing. So then it's firing and releasing norepinephrine and epinephrine to your heart. And what happens is then, folks, is that effect on the heart is it's actually excitatory. It actually excites the heart. The heart, pumps faster and harder. And by virtue of that, it inhibits also the parasympathetic division from stimulating, or in this case, by releasing, again, the release of epinephrine or epinephrine inhibits the release of acetylcholine from this division. All right. So in terms of the heart, the sympathetic division is excitatory. The parasympathetic division is inhibitory because it lowers the heart rate. Okay, now let's talk about the stomach and the intestines in this case, right? When you just ate and you're digesting your food, what happens is your parasympathetic division then secretes acetylcholine, the same neurotransmitter that inhibited the heart, but in the actual stomach and your large intestines and your intestines period, the effects of acetylcholine is actually excitatory. So your stomach, right, it becomes more motile, it becomes more active, right, because it's churning food. It's actually, in this case, busy mechanically and chemically digesting food, and food is being moved along that, right, the stomach and the large intestine. Okay, so in terms of the digestive system, the parasympathetic division is excitatory. However, when you're running away from someone, the last thing your body wants, folks, is to digest food. Okay, so what happens is your sympathetic division, even though it's excitatory on the heart, is actually inhibitory on the digestive organs. So when the sympathetic division is firing on the stomach, right? So what happens is your stomach then stops moving, right? Right. So in this case, your intestines kind of like the food slows down, right? And that's one of the reasons why sometimes when you're stressed, what happens is you actually get constipated, right? So note that when the sympathetic division fires, it can have a myriad effects, right? It could be inhibitory or it could be excitatory. It's excitatory for organs that's necessary for survival. Okay. In this case, it's inhibitory for organs that's not necessarily for survival. Okay. In the parasympathetic division, it's excitatory for organs, in this case, that's essential for just conservation of energy, right? So again, and then it's inhibitory for the other ones, for the other organs. Okay. So the heart, the lungs, so on and so forth. All right. This is quite interesting because this is one of the reasons when you're nervous, you sometimes pee and and basically defecate yourself. And the reason why that is because your smooth muscles, in this case, the muscles that your anal sphincters, okay, and in this case your urethral sphincters, right? When the sympathetic division fires, it actually inhibits those muscles from contracting. And obviously, when a muscle does not contract, it relaxes. Guess what happens? Feces and urine comes out. Okay, so that's actually one of the reasons why when you get nervous, you kind of like piddle and you kind of like poop yourself a little bit. All right, so I hope this is a very, very helpful video. Again, I have virtual office hours. Please make sure that you take advantage of those.